As of today, I am officially putting out an SOS emergency. Can somebody tell me where is Colby Covington? One of the best welterweights in the world. For a long time, was seen as one or two. You could maybe argue. Some people think he was tied with Usman as one. Usman was just a bit better. Some people think he was just behind Usman. Whatever you think, Colby Covington is nowhere to be seen at the moment. I don't know what's going on. I thought, so initially before making this, I kind of thought maybe it's something to do with the whole thing with Masvidal, because obviously Masvidal attacked him and what have you. But that can't be the case, really, can it? Because, yeah, right, I think, if I remember correctly, didn't he chip his tooth, or he did something with his tooth, I remember, in that thing with Masvidal. But when I look at it, Masvidal is fighting. He is fighting on the Adesanya Pereira card in UFC 287 in the co-main event against Gilbert Burns. How is it that Masvidal has lost to Colby, got in a fight with Colby, and now still somehow has a fight before him? I don't understand what's going on with Colby at the moment. After the fight with Masvidal, he called out Dustin Poirier, and I thought, okay, I don't like it because he's a lightweight, but it is what it is. Colby's the money guy, like Chael, and he wants the big fights. But he's nowhere to be seen at the moment, like at all. There's no rumours of him fighting anybody. There's a lot of talk of him actually being on the co-main. I remember talking about for the UFC London with Usman Edwards, with him and Chimaev being on the co-main, which I thought would have been explosive. But that's not happening. I don't know what Chimaev's doing. He's at least, to his credit, rumoured with fights that's talking about him fighting Whitaker. Possibility of him going up in weight. You hear little things here from Chimaev. I think Chimaev needs to be more active. I mean, I can't fault the guy. The guy literally fought twice in 2 weeks, like one event after the other. So I won't go in for that, but I just do. I think for him, he needs to be more active as a younger fighter. But back on Colby. Colby needs to be more active now. Colby Covington was, look, say what you want. You can't deny the guy's a good fighter. You know, he came into this sort of, I don't want to say the sport, but really, after that Damian Maia performance, everybody obviously knew him from that, and he became a loudmouth. But then, after some of the fights, people realised, no, this guy's actually really good. And I look at him now, he's 35 years old. He's getting on a bit, and same with Kamaru Usman. I feel like we are starting to see a new generation of fire come through at welterweight, and I do feel with Colby, he needs to move with this. And look, he might be training very, very hard and just doing stuff in the meantime, but I do see him doing interviews here and there, and he doesn't look in bad shape. He does obviously must be training. He's somebody who we all know he is known for being a hard worker in the gym. But what's he doing, man? There's no fights lined up for him. He's just gone missing. You want to look at the last time Colby Covington was in the octagon was March the 5th, 2022 against Jorge Masvidal. More than now a year ago. And it's going to be way more than a year, I think, until he fights next. Masvidal, like I said, is fighting Gilbert Burns. He's got a fight lined up. Kamaru Usman is finally in Edwards. There are fights happening in this division. For Colby Covington, there is literally nothing. There's no rumours of him. Like, I'm not even saying you have to just fight a welterweight. Just fight somebody. You want to fight Dustin Poirier, try and make that fight. I know Dustin's a bit thingy about the fight happening. Whether it happened or not, I don't know. But it just seems like he's gone quiet. And I really don't understand what's the issue, what's happening with Colby at the moment. His career, I think, is stagnating. And at this point, at 35, you really need to be getting as much fights in as possible. Simply because, you know, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, MMA fighters, it isn't the same in all divisions and all fighters. Everybody's different. Jan Blachowicz, Glover, two examples of this. But I just feel like as a heavyweight guy, as a light heavyweight, in the higher weight classes, you can almost afford to be a bit older and still fight these guys because of the power factor. But a welterweight, I don't think you can. You look at a guy like Chimaev, for example. You look at a guy like Ratmanov. Even look at Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is young. People don't realise how young this guy actually is. And I think with Colby, it's like he's almost, I don't know, it's like since the Masvidal fight, he just doesn't care anymore about the belt. It doesn't seem like he's really bothered. I mean, let's not get it twisted. This guy won one interim title against RDA. And he should have fought Woodley when Usman fought him, but, you know, it didn't happen. He then fought Usman. Gave a great fight the first time. Very close. 2-2, I had it going into the last round. Then fought him again. Well, actually, before I go skip to that, he obviously fought Woodley in the middle of that. Dominated, but Woodley had lost how many fights up until that point? He then fought Usman again. Got lost the first round, got dropped twice in the second, did amazing in the third and fourth, and in the fifth, I personally gave it to Usman, but it was close. Some people thought Colby won 3-2, and again, it was a close fight. But it's like, if it's not Usman, he's not really interested in fighting, or if it's not like a name, he's not interested in fighting nobody at welterweight. And this is the problem I have a little bit with. Sometimes when these fighters get a bit of popularity and fame, a little bit like Paddy Pimblett, but Paddy's, to be fair with Paddy, he's not really someone who's ever billed for me as being a top contender. He's just a name. But with Colby, he could be welterweight champ right now. Edwards is a good fight for him. I don't know if he wins, because I think people sleep on how good Edwards is, and obviously we've got to see what happens this weekend with Edwards and Usman. But you kind of, I don't know. I feel like now would be a good time you call out Edwards. I think he would have fought him. Usman at one point had the hand injury that was going to look like it was going to rule him out of this fight with Edwards. Never happened. Thankfully, he recovered. But they were talking about Masvidal fighting Edwards because of the whole thing with those two. But I'm like, why is Colby not trying to get in on this? And yeah, I don't really understand what's happening. It's like I need a missing persons warrant or something to go out here, because I need to know where this guy is in the octagon. Yeah, there's no injuries for him. It's not like he's got a crazy, like what happened to Yuri Prohaska or what happened with Usman. Usman had a hand injury and he's still fighting. So I don't know what's going on here with Colby. I really don't. Someone needs to fill us in. We need to get some people down to Colby's gym and just ask him, because he does interviews all the time. Because I just don't. There's no. It's not even like, all right, he doesn't have to come out constantly call people out. But I just something like, I know Ratmanov called him out, and that's a good fight, I think, for Colby. I don't think he wins, but I do think he could. I could see a world where he maybe takes Ratmanov down and is able just to control him with the wrestling. I don't know what's going on with Colby Covington. I really don't. An amazing fight, but I just feel like he's being wasted at the moment on the sidelines. And you look at the welterweight division. There's some fights there. Ratmanov is the obvious guy for him because he just won against Jeff Neal. But you could fight him. Burns would have been a great Burns one to fight forever. So why is that not a fight that interests you? I don't think you could really sell him fighting Usman again. But if Usman were hypothetically to beat Edwards in the rematch, why not fight Edwards after that? Like, there's so many fights I think out there for Colby, and I don't know. I was never a fan of what he did when he fought Usman the second time around, where he essentially waited for the shot. And I get it, because it was a close fight with Usman, and he thought the stoppage was a bit premature. But to me, there needs to be more activity from some contenders, and I think Colby's a good example of this. I just don't want to. I don't like it when fighters so waste the potential by sitting on the sidelines too much. Don't get me wrong, I understand injuries are a thing, and some people aren't able to always get fit. I look at Tatiana Suarez as an example, someone who I think is an excellent fighter, but she was injured for a long time and couldn't really rebuild any momentum. But Colby, it just doesn't seem like there is that. I just don't know what really the issue is at all. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with Colby. I think him and Poirier was the fight. That was the play. That's what he wanted. But I don't think Poirier really. He's talking about fighting him in the street, Dustin. And I think the reason for that is, I think he knows in a mixed martial arts saying it's not the best advantage. Because ultimately, I think people kind of get this mixed. Just because a guy can beat someone in the cage doesn't mean they can beat him in the street. It's a whole different thing. And Dustin, and he's talked. And I'll say this, Colby has talked a lot about Dustin Poirier's family to the point. Well, even I think McGregor would be a bit like, hey, saying all sorts about his daughter and his corner of prop. It's very bad. I don't know why he's doing it, but if I'm Dustin Poirier, I'd understand a little bit the whole street thing, because he's going crazy with that. And I think, like I said, we all know it's just to sell the fight and get the fight. That's what Colby does. That's what Chael Sonnen did. But I need to know where the brother is. Is he alive? Where is he? We haven't seen him for so long. I might be wrong about this. I can't remember the last time I saw him at an event or anything. I just think for Colby, I just get back in the octagon, fight Chimaev. I think him and Chimaev, he could beat Chimaev. Look at what happened with the Gilbert Burns fight. He hasn't got the power to do anything to Chimaev, and Chimaev is damn near a middleweight. But look at the way Chimaev gassed out in the in the Burns fight towards the last time. He looked tired, and we all know how Chimaev fights. That's the one issue I see with Chimaev, is whether he has the cardio to go all five. I think a fight with him would be, you win that. I don't see how they don't give you a title shot straight off it. And if Edwards beats Usman, I think that is, you will get the shot, because you can't realistically sell that. I would always watch Colby and Usman fight, but realistically you can't really sell a third fight with those two. especially when you look at Usman, what he's done. There's so many new contenders coming up in this division as well. I think people are craving new matches. Usman is literally his last 3 fights have been rematches essentially. So if, like I said, if he were to win the belt, and that's the preview video is coming for them, maybe you could see him going in there and fighting Colby again, but it doesn't really have an attraction to it. I want to know what Colby Covington is my point. I don't really see where I don't know. I just feels like, I just said this before, it's just stagnating for him, his career, and you don't say what you want. The guy's a talented fighter. I'll be honest, his resume, in my opinion, is controversial. I think it's a bit padded. I think Masvidal's a good match for him. He's a striker. I know people say it's about Khabib as well, but the difference with Khabib is how dominant he was against, and he fought literally the best guys in front of him. But before he fought Masvidal, in terms of the fights he won, he beat Woodley, who was over the hill. Before that, he obviously lost to Usman the first time, but then before that he fought Robbie Lawler, who again over the hill. Fought RDA, it was a good fight and he did well, but he was coming up from lightweight. And then Damian Maia, there's a point where I would like to see Colby in there with a younger Aratmanov. I want to see him in there with a Chimaev, a Burns, whoever. Just fight somebody. I just need to see it. I remember with Tony Ferguson, I had this opinion that I really want to see him in there with like a boxer, like a Gaethje or a Poirier. And eventually he fought Gaethje and we saw what happened. But to me, sometimes when a guy makes so much noise, you can kind of, what they're actually doing on paper can almost get lost a little bit. Colby hasn't really fought, to me, guys who I would look at for young, hungry contenders. Like, for example, how would I go about this? If you look at, I did a video on Jan and what's happening with Piotr Jan's career. If we look at when he's the guy who is kind of his rival in Aljamain Sterling fought the likes of Corey Sandhagen before he won the belt. He fought guys who were young, up-and-coming division. To me, that's what you want to do. You look at this. I mean, I was gonna say Islam Makhachev. That's a very bad example. Look at, where'd I go? Look at Israel Adesanya before he won the belt. Fought Calvin Gastelum in the interim fight, which was great. Anderson Silva, even though he was over the hill, was still relatively there. Fought Derek Brunson, who again, not a flipping easy fight. A lot of people thought it'd be a horrible fight because of the wrestling. And eventually, you kind of saw he then was ready once he fought Gastelum and then for the Whitakers. Same way Ngannou, actually. Ngannou fought literally almost everybody, I want to say, borderline. Fought Curtis Blaze, knocked him out. Fought Rosenstrike, knocked him out. I had the weird fight with Cain Velasquez, but he just knocked him out. Fought JDS, knocked him out. Like, he fought damn near, obviously now the division's a bit different, but he fought at that time everybody he could have fought up until the lead up to fighting Stipe for the second time. You have guys who, they're just, when I see guys who fight young contenders and beating them and beating guys who are almost a similar level, that's when I go, right, this is serious. Like when McGregor beat Dustin Poirier all them years ago. That's when I knew this guy, when you beat guys who are in and around the same level and you're making it easy, it's what makes it, it's what gives me more confidence that fighter is going to be a champion. And even like Usman, he beat RDA, obviously, during around the same time that Colby beat him, but the way Usman beat him, I remember thinking like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like take away from Colby's resume. Colby has dominated all these guys, but I would just like to see him in there with the guy who's stylistically a bit of a harder fight, like a Chimaev, like a Burns. Burns is jiu-jitsu. I like to see how that causes Colby some problems, if it does at all. But yeah, there's just so many fights. Colby, get back in the octagon. We need to get him back in the octagon. He's such a great fighter, and I just think you give it more longer, you're gonna find out. You're meeting sometimes guys, they take so long out of the octagon that eventually they meet somebody who ain't really a good fight for them, and all that activity is hurting them. And that's arguably, I think that's one reason why Colby was a bit stiff maybe in the second Usman fight. I know he was tentative because of the power that Usman was throwing, but he just wouldn't do anything. And I just think, you need activity. Activity, in my opinion, is the most important thing for a fighter, to constantly build confidence, momentum, to just get out there, because you can do it in the gym, but under the lights is very, very different, and I think that's why we need to see Colby back in there. The Masvidal fight was such a good performance, and since then we've not seen anything from him. And yeah, SOS. We have to find Colby Covington and get him in the octagon. I don't care who he fights. Let's just get him back in there and get him in this welterweight discussion, because at the moment he's out of it. I think if Edwards beats Usman again, I think Edwards will probably go on to fight maybe the winner of a Burns and Masvidal, and if not, a Chimaev. And if Usman wins, I don't know what Usman will do actually. That's the question. Usman kind of cuts the division up if he wins. I kind of want to see new matchups in this division. But if Usman wins, maybe he fights Chimaev. You know, there's so much there in this division at the moment, and we just need to see it. And I just need to see Colby back in that picture, because, like I said, if he's not careful, his career will fade away from him, and you don't want to be a nearly guy. You don't want to be. I mean, he's a legend, right? But you don't want to be like Alexander Gustafsson, who was as great a fighter as he was. He just wasn't able to really. He just wasn't as good as DC or John Jones, which is no shame at all. Two of the greatest ever. I mean, I wouldn't say they are, but you could argue the two greatest ever. I'd say John Jones is definitely the GOAT, and some people with what DC did, I mean, Colby himself, I think, felt like DC was the GOAT. So I think, you don't want to be a nearly man. You don't want to be someone who wasted years of your prime career. And when you did come back and you met a guy who's just way too much for you, I think you need to be in there, you need to be training, you need to be active, and you need to get back in the octagon, because we all want to see Colby Covington fight. And that is just my thoughts on Colby Covington. I hope he gets back in there. I hope we get to see him possibly against a Leon Edwards, possibly against a Burns, whoever. We just need to see Colby Covington back in there. And yeah, until next time.